United States was involved in its own internal war over God, that in many ways mirrored, and in some cases fed, the wars being waged in the Middle East. The buzzwords only hinted at the battle lines: left, right, red, blue, believer, non-believer, extremist, moderate. These tensions were reflected in all the usual places of modern discourse: the ballot box, the call-in show, the Bible study, the book group. Yet they were most acute at home. So many of the laments I heard about religion were variations on a theme. I can't talk to my brother about it without getting into a fight. My father is a Neanderthal. My daughter is making a big mistake. He doesn't understand what made this country great. With greater mobility and more choices, we no longer pass down religion seamlessly from one generation to the next. Nearly half of Americans change religious affiliations in their lives, a Pew study concluded. Stuck with our parents' genes, we seemed less interested in being burdened with their God as well. And we certainly didn't want to talk to them about it. Thanksgiving, the symbol of American blessing, the one holiday that marked the union of God, the people, and the land, had, for many families, become a minefield of fraught conversation. Around this time, I began noticing something else. On a trip to visit my in-laws on Cape Cod, we stopped off in Plymouth, and I took a tour of the Mayflower too. A reenactor was reading from the Bible. Exodus 14, he explained. The Israelites are trapped in front of the Red Sea, and the Egyptians are about to catch them. The people complain, and Moses declares, "Hold your peace, the Lord shall fight for you." Our leader read us that passage during our crossing. Moses, on board the Mayflower. On a trip to visit my parents in Savannah, I stopped off at my childhood synagogue. A letter from George Washington hangs in the lobby, sent after his election to the presidency. May the same wonder-working deity, who long since delivered the Hebrews from their Egyptian oppressors, planted them in the Promised Land, whose providential agency has lately been conspicuous in establishing these United States as an independent nation, still continue to water them with the dews of heaven. Exodus, on Washington's pen in the first weeks of the presidency. On a trip to visit my sister in Philadelphia, we went to see the Liberty Bell. The quotation on its face is from Leviticus 25, which God gave to Moses on Mount Sinai. Proclaim liberty throughout all the land, unto all the inhabitants thereof. The law of Sinai, in the bell tower where the Declaration of Independence was signed. In coming weeks, I found a similar story over and over again. Columbus comparing himself to Moses when he sailed in 1492. George Whitefield quoting Moses as he traveled the colonies in the 1730s, forging the Great Awakening. Thomas Paine in Common Sense comparing King George to the Pharaoh. Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams in the summer of 1776 proposing that Moses be on the seal of the United States. And the references didn't stop. Harriet Tubman adopting Moses' name on the Underground Railroad. Abraham Lincoln being eulogized as Moses' incarnation. The Statue of Liberty being molded in Moses' honor. Woodrow Wilson, Franklin Roosevelt, and Lyndon Johnson tapping into Moses during wartime. Cecil B. DeMille recasting Moses as a hero for the Cold War. Martin Luther King likening himself to Moses on the night before he was killed. The sheer ubiquity was staggering, and for me, had been completely unknown. For 400 years, one figure stands out as the surprising symbol of America. One person has inspired more Americans than any other. One man is America's true founding father. His name is Moses. For 2 years, I traveled to touchstones in American history and explored the role of the Bible, the Exodus, and Moses in inspiring generation after generation of Americans. I examined how American icons of different ages, from the slave girl Eliza carrying her son to freedom across the Ohio River in Uncle Tom's Cabin, to an orphaned Superman being drawn out of a spaceship from Krypton, were etched in the image of Moses. And I probed the ongoing role of Moses today, from the Ten Commandments in public places to the role of the United States as a beacon for immigrants. Even a cursory review of American history indicates that Moses has emboldened leaders of all stripes: patriot and loyalist, slave and master, Jew and Christian, fat cat and